ArtPrize has always been this radically open, decentralized catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
And what
all the buzzwords.
Yeah, thank you. I read your,
there are
Yeah,
words.
there
are buzzwords.
I mean, that's where
I think about them differently now than I did 10 years ago.
Well, I remember the chaotic storm that happened with the first ArtPrize. It was truly, if you could have created a phenomenon in every context of that word, where everyone was unexpectedly blown away by how many people came, our cities were full, restaurants ran out of food. Like, how many, have you ever gone to a city where the restaurants are like, sorry, we can't open tomorrow because it's Sunday and we can't get food delivery. So there's nothing happening, and there's 80,000 people or 60 downtown on a Sunday, and they couldn't be open for business.
Yeah.
But out of that was all this between your artist relations and things. There was a lot of blowback. There was a lot of like vitriol directed back at ArtPrize. Some of it, on balance, it was. But you have been the point person for most of this heat. And if there's one thing I admire about you over the last 10, 11 years, is through the vitriol, you are able to sort of duck and weave and find the heart of what ArtPrize can learn from whatever this person's upset by, even though they're not approaching their words in a constructive manner.
Yeah.
You've been a master at that, and I don't know if you can speak to anything, because if I could learn one thing from you, it would be to not that you didn't take things personal, but you didn't personalize the feedback.
Yeah. That is hard. That is really hard. I mean, especially when it first started, there was this period of time, which looking back, it's only a couple months, but boy, it seemed like longer than that, between when we announced what we were doing and how it was all going to work, and when the thing actually happened, right? And that was a crazy time, because it's the artist registration period, and it's the venues are signing up, and all of this sort of press is happening around, like, what's this thing going to be?
Yeah.
And we were figuring it out as we went along. Like, we developed it very quickly.
Talk about a startup. Holy cow.
We started developing it internally in January of 2009. We announced it publicly in late April, and then it opened in September. So it was that fast. And so, and a lot of that time was just the nuts and bolts of building a website which could support this artist registration process, and then, of course, the public vote, and deliver that with integrity and whatever else. But people... The public conversation around it at the time, there were artists who were just like, this will not work. Mm-hmm. They would just like swear up and down, and talk to any reporter that they could, and comment under any Facebook thing. And this is back when all of the news sites had comment sections, and sometimes people still read them, because it was this other era of the internet where we thought like Web 2.0 and everyone has their voice, and everyone's really like optimistic about it, which plays into what ArtPrize is as well. But there were people, not everybody, but there were a loud minority of people who were like, this is a terrible idea, it's not going to work.
And you're ruining the art world.
Yes.
And this really was down to, a lot of academics were upset that the public wasn't given more artistic art history and background about what should be valued enough to win such an enormous prize. At the time, it was $250,000 for the winner, and there was large cash prizes for second and third place as well. Actually, through the whole top 10. At that time.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of upheaval, a lot of discussion about who gets to control the narrative about what is art and what isn't, and that was like, kind of, once you got through the spectacle of this enormous cash prize as a catalyst, that was like my fifth thought I thought about, really. I didn't really think about, this is going to make the art world horrible, and no one's going to...
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a fairly narrow band of conversation. There were certainly many artists who were gung-ho and on it, and produced work that they never would have as an entry to compete.
Yeah.
But that sort of blowback, and being able to sort of, like I said earlier, just the duck and weave, but really listen to what was really being said and address it as an organization, because I think every year you've tweaked and done little things. Some of it has been big, some of it hasn't been.
Yeah.
You've added curators, you've done all kinds of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, to go back to that point about balancing what critics, and by critics I mean people who are critical of our approach, what they say about it and the kind of like attacks that we underwent, especially in those early days. It's difficult because it's like there's this instinct where you just want to be combative and be like, I'll show you, you're so wrong, whatever. And I have to admit that there's something a little satisfying about the fact that they were wrong. It did work.
Right.
Like people older than me and people with, by all measures, more experience than me swore up and down that it would be a colossal failure, and it wasn't. Like people really liked it. Well,
it was
had a huge
it was
impact.
enormous. They might not have liked
Well, it might
the
not have
meandering sort of like outcomes of things, but like in terms of as an experiment, as Rick, the
There's
founder,
different definitions of success, but for
but-
what we were trying to do, it was successful. So, but it's difficult to balance out. Do you just be like haters gonna hate and just like shut that out of your mind? But then at the same time, I always tried, even if it wasn't in the moment, at least with later reflection, to try to figure out like people they have a point, and some of that criticism early on was not just about like why you have the public vote, like they
don't know anything.
Yeah, the public doesn't get to vote on my brain surgery or like, but there other thing that people would say, which I think stuck a little bit more. Is the idea that artists need to be supported, right? Like, like prizes are one thing, but like production needs to be supported.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing. That's what we're doing with Project One. That's entirely what Project One is. But even before we made this switch, like for the past several years, we've introduced more and more and more grant programs.
Yeah, up front, and that's to like help. Like they submitted an idea, they needed. I think there were $5,000 sort of catalysts, and
there are a bunch of different levels. So
ArtPrize
in ArtPrize 10 is $500,000 in prizes, but we gave out I think $270,000 in grants.
Yeah.
Before the event.
And by grants, you mean this is money for you to prepare the project entry,
to
create art to compete for ArtPrize.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, money for upfront in the preparation of ArtPrize, money to artists, but also venue curators.
And that had a thread and a line
educators.
through, from year one, and sort of like hearing concerns of artists.
Yeah, totally.
Through that, and you can, it's been this meanderable, malleable, very format that has listened. But you've been really the point person for ingesting that information, bringing it to other leadership and people that could decide, what are the next steps? How do we improve? How do we do it? This Full Exposure podcast episode has been made possible through the support of Metro Health, University of Michigan Health, and Dr. Peter Hahn, who believe that creativity and the arts are essential to a rich, healthy, and fulfilling life.